The Leslie Marshall Show, the only true democracy in talk radio, of, for, and by you, the people. Live nationwide and streaming live at lesliemarshallshow.com.
Here to set you free. How you doing? I'm Leslie Marshall. Welcome back. Only true democracy in talk. Really glad to have with us today Christian Trimboli. Christian is a member of Teamsters Local 804 and an Amazon DSP, which is delivery service provider driver in one of the most difficult cities to drive. Although I'm a Boston driver, I can navigate it, New York City. But navigating it and delivering and trying to get down those tight cross streets and trying to park without people killing you because you have no space. You got to double park just to get those deliveries, pick up and drop off. Founded in 1903, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters represents over 1.3 million hardworking people throughout not just the United States, but Canada and Puerto Rico as well. Please visit their website, teamster.org, for more information. Be sure to follow them on X at Teamsters and on Facebook at facebook.com/Teamsters. Christian, can I call you Christian? Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thanks for joining us and welcome. Good to have you with us today. I know you're busy and I appreciate you making the time. People I think would have to be living under a rock, whether you live in New York City or not. It's just all over social media and certainly the news, not just locally in New York City, but it definitely has reached a national level. I saw stuff here in Los Angeles on it, that Amazon Teamsters and their allies recently gathered in New York City at New York City Hall to call for passage of the Delivery Protection Act during its introduction for the 2026 City Council session. Now, this is groundbreaking legislation authored by Council member Tiffany Caban. It would protect workers and communities by requiring last mile delivery facilities in the city, New York City, to be licensed and directly employ their staff. Now, Amazon utilizes a corrupt third party model called the Delivery Service Partner System Program, Delivery Service Partner Program, DSP, and we're going to talk with Christian about it today. So first of all, can you share with us some of the issues that you face as a DSP driver yourself, Christian?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's a great opportunity to be able to express, my experiences. And I thank you for that. Um, there are quite a few, I think a lot of people, in spite of what people may think, the work is tiring, right? People, including myself, before I applied for this job, I really underestimated the immense amount of packages that I was going to be given on a daily basis. And the vans, they are being held together with tape, you know, um, they're falling apart. And I've been put in vans where there isn't even enough room to stand up straight because the roof of the van is so low and it's just filled with the brim to the brim with packages, you know. It's tough.
And some of them are very heavy. I've seen people, drivers like yourself, loading trucks or unloading trucks, whether at the UPS store or right in front of my house. Um, I would imagine one of the issues you also face is that, people might, yell at you when something comes late that you might have nothing to do with because the late may come from the source before it even gets to you. Am I right?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, there is a routing system that Amazon provides for us that, a sequence stop order that we are recommended to follow that for one is often um not calibrated correctly. They tell us to go to these houses first and these businesses after, and oftentimes we're missing deadlines. I'll say it like that. If a business closes by 3 o'clock and they're telling us to go to that business by the end of the day, that business is not going to get their package. And amongst the immense amount of packages we're getting, stuff collapses, stuff is being crushed under other packages, and these packages end up breaking. And I'm not even aware, and I end up giving it to a customer. It could be Christmas time, and
Right.
I'm giving it to a customer, and they really needed this package because they wanted to give it to their family member, and it's broken. You know, does that kind
And
of address
in,
the
and in
question?
New York City, so many other challenges too. You have older buildings that have older elevators that may not be large enough if you have a large package, right? You have walk-ups, right? I would
Yeah,
imagine there are four and five, flight walk-ups, in New York City.
yeah,
People that aren't home, not being able to get into the main door to get to that fifth floor walk-up to deliver the package. The list
yeah.
goes on. So, why did the challenges that you face on the job motivate you and your coworkers to join the Teamsters? What did you think that the Teamsters could do for you that you guys weren't getting and you couldn't get on your own?
Mm. Well, a lot of us, I think a lot of us intuitively knew we deserved better on the job, especially compared to how much money Amazon is racking in per year. Um, Most people I know on the job have to work two jobs because Amazon is just not paying enough.
Mm,
And as far as opportunity goes in this country, there seems like there's less and less of it nowadays. Even people with degrees, I have a degree, and it only goes so far. So joining this wasn't just an opportunity for like purpose, and like leadership, because those are things I value. I value those things, and I think many of my coworkers also do. Um, but also an opportunity to just build a future for ourselves and our coworkers, you know?
mm.
I don't think that, well, we don't think that Amazon gives us the dignity and respect that we deserve, you know? We're valuable parts of our community. Um, there are people I would see every day who would say hi to me, and Amazon just doesn't, they don't respect us. Yeah.
When you say hi in your community, I know my UPS driver by name. I agree with you. You know, you're part of the fabric of the neighborhood, and we, rely on it. You know, we certainly saw that during COVID, and just especially those of us that are, multitasking, and it's like I don't have, time to go to the store to get this, and you bring it to us. You deliver it to us. My husband is an orthopedic surgeon, which means he fixes bones. And he has a number of UPS drivers he fixes. I know that because I know one of them. I have a friend, he's retired now, but is a UPS driver, and people don't realize what a toll it can take, on the body. I love that you didn't just talk about money or healthcare or pension or holidays, vacation time. You talked about dignity and you talked about respect. And I love the fact that, one of the motivations for you and your coworkers to join the Teamsters was dignity and respect, because I do believe that unions, especially the Teamsters, do help provide that in their fight for workers. How did Amazon react when they found out that you and your coworkers were organizing with the Teamsters?
Not politely. I mean, when they found out, they had sent, for one, union busters. These are people that corporate sends to the field, you know, to talk to me, my coworkers and I, about the dangers of getting involved in the union for fighting for ourselves. Um, and in spite of that, we knew they were trying to scare us, so we still unionized. But now Amazon is refusing to recognize our union. You know, they're claiming that we don't even work for them. And it's a shame because, we have the right to do this. And Amazon is just doesn't care, you know?
Yeah, it's weird too because Amazon's already negotiated some contracts with Teamsters in other areas, right? Not with UPS drivers, with DSP drivers. Can you explain, speaking of DSP, can you explain the Amazon DSP model to me and to everyone listening and watching, Christian?
Yeah, I'll try my best. So a DSP, it stands for a delivery service partner, and they function as third-party contractors that partners up with Amazon.
Hmm.
And these third-party contractors, these DSPs, they're given routes that they are expected to fulfill, that Amazon will compensate them for. That's a technical way that they function. But the reason why they use this DSP model, and Amazon will deny this, but it's because they're trying to avoid accountability, right? Amazon has a horrible safety record, and a very prominent union busting record. Um, they always deflect all their problems to the DSPs. And it's a shame because they make For somebody that wears an Amazon outfit, drives an Amazon van, delivers Amazon packages, to not be an Amazon worker is just silly. They make all this money off our labor, and
Right.
they refuse to take responsibility for their workers, for their vehicles.
Right.
I've had vehicles that, I mentioned before, that are falling apart, being held by tape, sliding
Christian,
doors.
I want to talk more
Yeah.
about that. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back to you right after this. We have Christian Trimboli from Teamsters Local 804. He's also an Amazon DSP delivery service provider driver in New York City. Back with you right after this. We are back. We are back with Christian Trimboli. He's a member of Teamsters Local 804, an Amazon DSP delivery service provider driver in New York City. And be sure to follow the Teamsters on X at Teamsters, on Facebook at facebook.com/Teamsters, and check out the website because maybe you want that dignity and respect that Christian Trimboli and his fellow co-workers are seeking by joining Teamsters, not being treated like second-class citizens, not being treated like employees with Amazon. Go to teamster.org for more information. Christian, thank you for holding. Welcome back. Before the break, you were talking about you explained the Amazon DSP model, how you as a driver fit into that, and how there's like a third party involved. And this is one of the ways Amazon takes advantage of you, the workers, right? Because you're not technically employees. It's almost like for lack of a better word, a detour to being an employee, right? And that enables them to screw with hours, to screw with wages, any kind of healthcare plan, and things like that. Delegating that to a third party entity, right?
Yes, thank you. That was a good summary of actually a lot of the problems with DSPs. So, um, I think at the core of it, there are two things that are concerning for me as an employee, um, concerning about DSPs. For one, I had mentioned before that these vehicles are falling apart. I've had sliding doors fall off. I've had rear doors just fly open while I was driving. Um, I've had my gear shift into neutral from drive uh, while driving.
And
And
that's not just dangerous to you, the driver, but it's dangerous to anybody around you, a pedestrian or another
yes,
driver.
yes, exactly. Just imagine, a friend or family member who was unfortunate enough to be near one of these vans while it
Right.
malfunctioned. Yeah, and your first instinct is to call Amazon, maybe some kind of customer support line, and their response is, "Oh, this isn't our employee. Like they don't work for us." That's just ridiculous. And most people don't know these things. Most people don't know that we work for DSPs. So that person just ends up lost. I've had people on the road talk to me about this, like these encounters. So, like this happened, and I'm not sure what to do, and I'm at a loss for words. And the other issue with DSPs is I had also mentioned before that because Amazon has these partnered contracts with these delivery service partners, that they also have the ability to cut these contracts, right? When my coworkers and I unionized our workplace, like I said before, the first thing they said was that we don't work for them. And we knew that we were taking a risk when we unionized because we
Right.
knew that there was a possibility that Amazon was going to cut the contract with my DSP. And that means that they're going to be effectively firing a couple hundred people because, the DSP has failed to keep up with standards that Amazon is producing. When the reality is that they don't want us to unionize and fight for something that we are entitled to, right? Better compensation, um, healthcare, job security, things like that. So, yeah.
And not just job security, to your point, when you talk about vans falling apart, gears shifting, roofing falling, not being, high enough with the capacity. When you have the Teamsters come in, first of all, the Teamsters are going to win, and Amazon knows that, so they're afraid, right? And then they're
Mhm.
thinking, get rid of a couple of hundred workers and avoid all these things we're going to have to do to protect workers, because that's one of the things that you need as a DSP driver and your coworkers is you need the protection that an organization, a union like the Teamsters can provide because they have your back.
Mm.
Nobody should be working in those, situations because, the Teamsters, they're going to come in and they're going to go, packages can only be this high, headroom has to be this high, ceiling has to be fixed, cars have to be, maintenance on a regular basis, in addition to, like you say, a working wage so that you don't have to work two jobs. Somebody shouldn't have to work two jobs with a full-time job. Like you said, you have a degree, right? This is your job. And there should also be the ability to move up in your job at some point, if you do it for, long enough. I mean, you clearly have leadership skills. That's why you're talking with me today. That's why they've chosen you to talk with me today.
Thank you.
So, that's really important. And of course, time off, proper health care, because, God forbid you do get hurt, but having preventative measures in place so you don't get hurt. And that's what the Teamsters are incredible, just do a great job at, with their union. And that's why so many areas throughout the United States, so many different occupations are looking to join the Teamsters so they can get that, which honestly, a company should provide. Because, if you're hurt, you're off the job. I'm down a worker, right? I got to find somebody else to do the job. And like you said, you're a part of the fabric of that community that you're delivering to. A lot of people are going to be, who's this? Right? Where's Christian? Who's this?
Yeah.
Um, how will the Delivery Protection Act address the threat that Amazon poses to you, to your fellow workers, and to community safety? You mentioned, like, if your, car goes into gear, that could mess up a number of pedestrian and cars. How does that address that threat that Amazon poses to you, to the workers, and the community safety in New York City?
Yeah. Well, before I answer that, I actually want to just respond to something you said that really impacted me. I think it's super empowering to see, because like you said before, we're not the only warehouse that has been fighting for a better workplace. It's been happening in multiple states around the country, let alone in New York City. And it's really empowering to see hardworking people, who I have encountered on my job, fight for themselves and having the opportunity to be a part of that. It means a lot to me, and to know others are fighting for me and for my family just the same way that I am for them. I think that's another reason why a lot of us joined the Teamsters too, that empowerment. But to answer your question, how the Delivery Protection Act would address these things, um, the Delivery Protection Act is very comprehensive. I've met with a lot of local council people already, and I can tell they're impressed because this is an industry changing bill. It's going to require that any company, not just Amazon, but any company that operates a last mile facility, um, not only abides by the higher safety standards that are expected of them, but also employs all their workers directly. Um, if the DSP model is removed and we are employed directly, um, our right to unionize will finally be protected, right? Because like I said before, right now, if we unionize, they just cut our contract, right? They've found some like legal loophole to effectively nullify our
Yeah.
legal right to unionize our workplace. Um, and they'll also have an obligation to maintain their vehicles because right now they're putting the burden on these, delivery service partners who are on like super tight margins, right?
Right.
And they can't afford to really do that. So those are the two things that I'm looking forward to them addressing. And just seeing Amazon finally be held accountable is going to be really satisfying too. So yeah,
And especially when you see a company like you had mentioned, you touched upon briefly the profit margin there. I mean, they certainly can afford this.
yeah,
I mean, fixing a few trucks probably is the price of I don't know, the skincare regimen of Jeff Bezos' wife on a weekly basis, right? Oh, I meow, meow. What did I just do, right? But you know what I'm saying? It's just, I mean, seriously, why wouldn't you want? The other thing is, think about it. If somebody gets hurt really badly, God forbid you hit somebody, the lawsuit, the millions of dollars, again, prevention. Prevention is key, and
Mm.
safety. Why wouldn't anyone want their workers to be safe and to be happy? Right? A happy and safe worker is going to be a more productive worker, and that's going to make you more money, if not in the short run, certainly in the long run. What have you learned, Christian, from your experience organizing your fellow Amazon workers? What's the organization, the union organization, to be a part of the Teamsters, that experience been like for you and your workers?
Yeah, I had mentioned before that I found a lot of purpose and fulfillment in joining this. As someone who graduated with a degree and thought they had it, figured out their future, career plan, I was struggling to find um, direction, and getting involved in this gave me that. But also, more importantly, it taught me what it meant to be a leader, what leadership was. I think a lot of people think that being a leader means to, work your way up to being like a boss or a manager. And I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's right. I think a leader is someone that enables others, lifts other people up, builds them into leaders, right? And I think that's what we did here, in the last year or so, and what so many other people across America, other Amazon drivers and warehouse workers are doing. They are being leaders. They feel called to get involved and build the future that they know that they deserve.
Well, I got to tell you, Christian, just I've definitely talked to a lot of union workers and leaders and Teamsters leaders, and I think the Teamsters should have their eye on you. I don't think just being a driver, that not that there's anything wrong with that, is the end of your career. I just have a strong sneaking suspicion, the way that you speak, and the passion that you have for leadership. And I think this is definitely the right path that you're on. Christian, thank you for being with us. Christian Tromboli, I did that again. Trimboli, Christian Trimboli, member of Teamsters Local 804, an Amazon DSP delivery service provider driver in New York City. He and the others are seeking to unionize and join the Teamsters so that they can be safe, have a working wage, some vacations, a pension, things like that all workers should have. Check out theteamsters.org for more information. Maybe you'd like to unionize. Go to teamsters.org. Follow them on X at Teamsters and on Facebook at facebook.com/Teamsters. Again, Christian Trimboli, Teamsters Local 804, Amazon DSP delivery service provider driver in New York City. Thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time.
Thank you, Leslie.